Morning, everybody. My name's Bill. This is Pirate Solutions Forestry. Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday of Memorial Day week. We had a bunch of rain yesterday, and I got to get back at it today. I got a small window. It's going to rain tomorrow. Then we're on into a new week. So I'm trying to get a little bit ahead and knock out some smaller things that I have to take care of before I get into some really big cutting things. So I'm going to show you the list and show you what I have going on. And also got a couple things to talk about. The sawmill band giveaway. I've had a few responses on it. 3 or 4 people, I think maybe 3. And if I only get 3, and for those of you who don't know, if you didn't watch that video, I incorrectly clicked on some wrong bands from Norwood. So I got a box of Stella cut bands and a carbide band at 144 inches long. Those don't fit my mill. Well, Norwood, in the excellent customer service that they have, sent me the correct bands and told me do a YouTube giveaway on the other ones. So I'm doing a YouTube giveaway. If you run 144 inch bands and you want to get into the contest, then go ahead and drop me a comment down in the, as AVE would say, the doobly-doo down there, and I will do a drawing for the bands and send them out. However, if I only get 2 or 3 or 4 people, I might split the bands up, maybe do a drawing for the carbide band and split up the Stella cut bands and send 1 or 2 to everybody. So that's a possibility as well. We're going to see how many responses we get. Number 2, I'm in contact with a new gentleman, or at least new to me, who's sharpening bandsaw bands, sharpening set clean bandsaw bands. And I'm waiting to hear back from him if I can share his information. He sent me all his shipping information last night because I have a bunch of bands that need to be set and sharpened, and I've probably got 100 up there that are starting to get ahead of me a little bit, and I'm breaking into my new Stella cut bands. I don't have enough time to set and sharpen everything, so I think I'm going to send him a bunk of 20 of them to do for me, and we'll see how they come out. But he's doing them for 50 cents a foot. So my bands, for instance, are, let's just call them 14 feet long. They're 13, 11 and a half, but let's just call them 14 feet long. For $7 a band, that's an excellent deal. Excellent deal. Even regardless of what the shipping is, it's a great deal. So I'm going to ship him 20 bands, try them out, but I'm waiting for a comment back from him to see if I can share his information. And if I get it before I shoot all these segments of the video today, I will share it with you guys. And then thirdly, Kate's Cure ALS. We are going to be cutting a charity job for a young lady named Kate, who was diagnosed with ALS at 34 years old, right after she gave birth to a child. And she lives local. A friend of mine, Jesse Keys, did some tree work for her. They want to do some improvements to their basement. She's 36 now, so she was diagnosed 2 years ago. And I have all the spruce here, and they gave me a cut list, so we're going to be doing that. And they sent me some gear to wear, so you'll see me with their information, and I'll be sharing what information I have. Her sites are mostly on Instagram, which I'm not, but I'll share all the information that I can in case you guys want to help this family out. It's a horrible thing. She must be incredibly brave. I will admit I don't know her, but friends of mine do, and we're going to do everything we can to help out. So we're going to be sawing them a pretty significant spruce order and giving it to them so they can do some improvements to their basement. So with all that, I am going to show you the list, show you what we got up on the sawmill, and we'll muddle through this today. We've got to cut a bunch of cedar. So here is the list. My friend Thatcher Smith at Plymouth Live Edge up in Stoughton, if you need to buy slabs or hardwood stock, anything like that, everything is dried. He has a lot of services like planing and squaring and cutting and everything else. Plymouth Live Edge, Thatcher Smith needs some pine slabs. We got to cut those. That's going to be a big job, and we're going to try out some carbide bands on that because I have to cut some really big pine logs. for him. Craig Smith, my friend up in New Hampshire, who has this absolutely gorgeous timber frame that I helped out with a couple of years in a row. I went up 1 year for the raising, stayed in a tent for a month. Then the next year I went up and they rented a Bobcat. I ran the Bobcat and did all their final grading and spread all their loom and everything for their yard, and moved a whole bunch of big, huge granite boulders for a week. They need some white cedar for their deck up there. And we have a little bit of white cedar. We're going to get him started because he wants to do a section of the deck that's pretty small. And I have all my feelers out for white cedar. Dave came and picked up his order, so that one's gone. All the 1x12 pitch pines, those are all gone. Jesse Keys, this is my cut list for Kate with ALS out of the spruce. My friend Paul Hunt, it's Assawamsett Arms is the name of it. If you're looking to buy some pew-pews, Paul Hunt sells pew-pews. He needs 2 6x6 by 10 foot long in red cedar. We're going to cut those. And Lawrence Lynch just called me yesterday. They've got a trailer in the refurb bay, and they need a trailer deck for it cut out of oak, and it's pretty big. It's about 400 board feet. So that's going to be a big job. We're going to cut some monster oaks for that. And I think that is, I've got a million things hanging, but I think that's about it for what's going on right now. So we're going to get a jump start, try to get the cedar out of the way. All right, so we've got our one white cedar that I have that's kind of long up on the sawmill. Now, Craig wants, in a perfect world, 5-inch boards to do his deck. This log on the small end is 8 inches. So if you times 8 times 70%, you get 5.6. So this is going to cant out at 5 inches. But I'm going to show you a little bit of a taboo subject. I've got the big end down this way. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is with his deck boards, he doesn't need all 10 footers. He can piece in smaller ones. If I cut off the small end, I lose all the ability to take any flitches whatsoever if I could. Now this on the big end is 11 inches and it's 8 inches on the small end. So there's a big 3-inch taper on this. There's a possibility I can't get anything out of it, but if I can get, what I'm going to do is I will go to the top of the log, find out how high it is on my sawmill, drop down to the center, then come up 2.5 inches because I'll be setting my width in this dimension. So I'll come up 2.5 inches to get my 5-inch cant. So it'll be 2.5 above the center, 2.5 below the center. If I can steal a flitch at full inch thick, I'd only see it here. I wouldn't see it from the other end. So even if it ends up being a usable board for 6 feet or 5 feet, he can still use it. So this is a time when not only is it okay, but it's probably better that you work from the big end. Now I have the pith centered end to end right now, and it's going to stay centered through the first 2 cuts. The second side will just pretty much be a skim cut. There'll be a possibility that we could steal a flitch, but I doubt it. And then we'll flip it, we'll set our width, and then we'll set our 4/4 scale and mill down through the top of it on the 4 side. So we're going to go ahead and I'll take you through the process. That's why I'm giving you this view, and maybe at some point I'll change your view a little bit. So I want you to see what I'm doing. So this is a time when it's okay to put the big end down here, because I might be able to steal a board. Even if it's not 10 feet long, I'll get something usable out of it that he can use. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the log, and I'm going to drop down right to the top of the log. So let's just say inside the bark is right there. So that's 10.5. So I'm going to drop down to 5 1/4, right? We're going to make a line basically right through the pith. The pith on this log is fairly close to center. It's like an 1/8 inch off. We're going to go up 2.5 inches, so 7 1/4, 7 3/4. We're going to make a line. And we're going to see if we can seal something. So I'm going to come up a full inch, which is 8 3/4, 8 7/8. And that's where I'm going to take my top cut. He wants everything 4/4 thick, so I just came up 4/4. I'm going to take my top cut there, drop down, take my next cut, see if we can steal a usable board. Even if it's only 4 feet, it'll be okay. We are going to get a usable deck plank for him out of this flitch. And it's going to be approximately 5 inches wide by just about 5.5 feet long. So that saved him a board by doing it this way. And right now we're at 8 7/8. We're going to drop down to 7 3/4, and we'll cut the top off, and then we'll spin it. You got to be very careful with your stops on little logs like this that you don't hit them. So the important part here, if you're working off the big end, is you have to work out from the center, and you have to not level your log, you have to center your log end to end. So let's get this flitch off. And guys, as you can see, you know, we definitely are going to have a usable deck board out of this piece for at least some length. Now, not the whole length, but some length. Some of the logs that I'm cutting for him are only 4 5 feet long. And now we're kind of going to do the same thing. Now, I hope, I might have to put my clamps down, my stops down just a little bit. I'm going to do that right now. I'm not even going to mess with it. So we do the same thing we did on the first side. So without measuring, you just come and check it. So we're going to call it 12 1/4. We'll come down to 6 1/8. Make a line. This will be right through the middle of the log. Yep. All right, so we're going to go up to 8 and 8. 8 5/8 is a half. 8 3/4. You're going to give me that 2.5 inches. Then we're going to go up to 9 7/8. It's going to give us a 1-inch board. And we're going to take our top cut right there. Cedar's always a funny shape. But by doing it this way, we're maximizing what we can get. So now we're going to take that 1-inch flitch at 8 3/4, and then we'll spin it and set our width to 5. And we'll do the same thing on the width. And again, we got a pretty good usable board out of that he can use for his deck. He was saying 5 inches would be ideal, but he said, you know, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Definitely have 5 inches for above my head for over 6 feet. I've got 5 inches of heart in this thing. So again, good usable board, good use of the log. Now we're going to spin it and set our width. So now on this turn, what we're going to do is we're going to go to 5 because that's our width. We can actually, we know we're going to go to 5, so we can just come up 1.25 to 6 1/4 and see if we're going to get a, we're going to try to take our top cut right there and see if we can steal a board. And guys, again, we're going to get a good usable board out of this. We'll come back and cut it at 5 and set our width, and then we'll flip it on its side and mill it out on 4/4 scale and see how many boards we're going to get, which aren't going to be many. Set our width at 5. And again, to above my head, up in here somewhere, I've still got a 5-inch board. So 8 feet maybe. Good use of the log. That's really good use of the log. We're maximizing this log right now, which is what we need to do for Craig. And all I have to do, the couple that have the flat side, when I get down low, I can just throw them on and edge them right at 5. So when I get below 5 inches, at some point, I'll throw them on there, edge them right at 5. We'll see how many boards we get out of this whole thing. Now we're going to go on 4/4 scale. 4/4 scale is going to tell us where our top cut's going to be this time. And if we can steal a board, we will. So let's just go to, let's go to the one that's just, we're going to be scaling off the bottom because that's where all our good wood is. So we want our last cut to be 1 inch. That's why we're scaling off the bottom. So this is, that's too small. So we're going to come down to the next one, which is 6 5/8. So I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 more, 6, 7, maybe 8 boards out of this. This one's going to be close. There's going to be a teeny little bit of weight on a couple of these. You have to keep in mind, I'm not down to 5 yet. So I couldn't get a cant this big. It should have weight on it. So our next drop is going to be to 5.5. We're going to end up with a decent board for a specific length. We'll get these 2 boards off. Get these 2 boards off. All right, we'll take these 2 at 5 inches and then we'll mill out the rest of the log. Two more 5-inch boards. A little bit of wane, but not much. That's what we got out of the flitch. That's what we get out of the flitch. This one's actually almost full length too. There's a little bit of wane on the bottom, but you can put that down. And let's just cut it out on 4/4 scale. Get some more, we'll do a count and see how much coverage we got on this deck. So I think we were at 4 3/8 because we wouldn't have been able to cut for 5. We come to 3 1/4. All right. Nice. Nice. So we got 8 at full length. And that's going to cover 40 inches at full length of his deck. Just that one little skinny log. He needs 10 feet, so it's a third. That's 1/3 of his deck in that one little log. Now I get a bunch of small ones to cut. And those are all going to be custom setups. I'll probably throw a little bit of video in with that. But that is one example of why you want to put the big end down there. So thank you very much, guys, for coming along. It's going to be a weird day cutting all these small logs, but I hope that helps somebody out, you know, and kind of dispels. I was watching a video the other day, I won't say who it was, but they were talking about like the 5 things that you need to do, 5 things that you want to do to cut good lumber or something like that. And one of his points was always have the small end facing the operator. It's not always the case, guys. You got to think outside the box sometimes too, especially on logs that have a lot of taper in them, and especially on stuff that's going to be funky holding and things like that. If you're looking for yield, we got great yield out of that. We ended up with just a few little slab cuts, little thin junk slab cuts, a lot of really good usable boards out of a log that only had 8 inches on the small end, and we got 8 boards out of it. So, you know, I hope this helps out. Like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, please hit me up. If you can use 144-inch bands on your sawmill and you want to get in the band giveaway, please make a comment down below. I'll tally them all up and see how it's going to work out. I want to make as many people happy as I can, and I really like to get some Stella Cut bands out to people that have never run them. That would be neat. And of course, the big coup de grace of the giveaway will be who gets the carbide band, and that will definitely be some type of drawing. But I'm going to I'm going to go in and have a bowl of soup with Danny, see if I can get him to come out after lunch here, and then come back out and get set up on some small logs and see if we can rip through a couple of these small logs. And the process is going to be fairly similar, guys. The thing about the small logs is there's almost no taper in them, so I won't be leveling them or anything like that. It'll just be cutting them into a square, you know, taking off the top, setting my width, taking off the bottom, spin it up, cut the thing out, and we'll see how many pieces we can get for Craig. The small logs are going to do the small little add-on section of his deck that he had to add on. And then these ones will get him a head start on the big section of the deck until I can come up with some more Arborvitae / white cedar logs around here. I've got all my tree guys out looking for it. So if you need something from Norwood, you want to inquire, let's say you get a Stella Cut band and you love it and you want to get more, they sell the 144s. You please use my affiliate link in the description, or it's in the description of all my videos. And that'll take you to Norwood. You can order your bands, and that tells Norwood that you're watching my videos. If you think I can do anything better or you want to see something different, please let me know. The channel's growing. I want to keep it growing, so I really want to do what you guys want. That's really important to us. If you ever ask yourself, why hasn't the channel grown more? I think it's because, really, in all honesty, I'm not, jumping around in yoga pants and falling on the ground and stuff like that. I think that I may lack some entertainment value. I try to get out the best information that I can, and to me, that takes thought. So a lot of my videos come off as thoughtful and maybe not as entertaining. So if you want to see me do some stuff different, let me know. And for now, this morning, it sure looks like it's going to rain, but they said it's not going to. Pirate Solutions out. All right, guys, so I talked to Austin, and he said I could share his information on the channel. So I'm going to hold up his information, and you guys can pause it, write it down, give him a call. Like I said, what he said last night on, I believe it was one of the Norwood sites about sharpening, is that he'll do them for 50 cents a foot on your bands, and you're still going to have to ship them and all that, but you can call him and work out the details. And if you're you could probably send him a friend request on Facebook too if you want to communicate through Messenger. But I'm going to show you the information, and I'm going to come around the camera so I can see it. So you can pause right now and write that down. And if any of you, like maybe Jerry, if on your channel, I'm going to slip this in somewhere in the video, I'm not sure, probably right after I talked about it. But Jerry, maybe you can mention them on yours too, and let's try them out. Let's ship them some bands. I've only got, I don't know, 150 up on my sharpening bench, so I got no problem shipping 20 out that need to be set. And let's try them out, and let's spread the word, because 50 cents a band, that's a home run, guys. And maybe at some point when he gets backed up 2 months, then he'll go up a little bit on his prices. But that's a good price, and that's really super fair. It makes it, if I have to set a band, for 50 cents a foot, for me, rather than having to set up my setter in the other shop and everything, it may be something that had a nail strike or something like that, I'd send it out. So I'll just keep all my bands that need to be set separate, and I'll send them all to him. I don't know what the shipping's going to be like, but we're going to find out. Certainly have enough boxes lying around to ship him 20 bands. So thanks for the watch. That's his info, and Pirate Solutions out again. One thing I am going to do before I get going on my cedar order here, because some of these logs are short, is I'm going to undo a mistake I made. So if you see these manual clamps, and I'll have to be using these on some of the shorter cedar logs. When we first put this together, Dave Boyd said to put this clamp on this side lined up with this. Norwood says to put it on the other side. Now, we put it on the side like Dave Boyd said, because Dave Boyd's usually right. And what happens is when you go in, you hit this release when you're edging. So if you're trying, let's say you're trying to edge one board, you can't do it. This won't go in far enough. It will hit on this, and it will hit this release and release the stop. So I said, well, I thought to myself, oh, Jesus, well, that's why Norwood said put it on the other side. And now when you do put it on the other side, I get a little more throw, and I can clamp. I can kind of clamp a 1-inch board, and it doesn't hit this thing. And I thought that was great. It's not great. It's horrible. Dave Boyd was right. I was wrong. He's much better looking than me. Dave Boyd is smart, and I'm dumb. And I'm going to change all of my manual clamps back this morning before I get going, or at least at least 2 of them for now. I don't know if I'll do all 3. I might as well, right? But the problem with doing it this way is that it skews the board. Okay, now that's okay if you have this on this side and you have a stop down there on your board or log and you clamp it, it clamps it tight. But if you don't have a stop on that side, and I'll show you an example of that, it skews it away from the other stop and it doesn't work. Well, what that does is it limits me to where I can clamp. And I'll show you an example. So if you look at these 2 clamps right here, okay, so I have a hydraulic clamp or stop here. I have a hydraulic stop here and a little manual clamp here. So if I put a 4-footer on here, or let's say 4'2", I have 2 stops to go against, but when I move my clamp in and I clamp it, it pulls it away from that stop. And that causes a problem. You can't do it that way. Then the log's going to twist. When you cut past this, the log's going to want to go like this. So it kind of limits me to only using this side because I can clamp this one and it clamps it into the hydraulic stop. Suffice to say that I have run into situations where this doesn't work. So what we're going to do is I'm going to change it right now, and it's pretty simple on Norwood. There's one little bolt over here that kind of captures the end of this square tube. Or I only have an adjustable to loosen it. So once you get that loose, there are 2 pins in the bottom of your log clamp here so that this will come right out. And then all we have to do is switch. We just have to flip this thing over. So we're going to pull a cotter pin over here. We're going to take this out. We're going to flip this to the other side. I'm going to put it back in. Put my pin back in. This way, if I could only use 1 clamp, if I get this pin to go through that hole, if I only could use 1 clamp, I could, in theory, clamp a log securely, even, really almost even against 1 stop, if it was small enough. So you're going to have to trust me on this. I've tried it both ways, and I don't like it the other way. Now this lines up with this, and you can see when you go in to clamp, let's say a 1-inch log, that hits this 1-inch board. However, when I clamp it, it's going to hold this piece tight. And now I can bridge across here to that, and it won't skew the log. So I'm going to do that to all of them, and then we'll get to cutting. And I'll see if I can go in and get Danny to come outside. He doesn't want to come outside right now. One little amendment here to this better illustrates where it can be a problem. These 2 bunks are only like 3 feet apart. So I can comfortably do a shorter than 4-foot log on these 2 bunks. But when this was on the other side, it always skewed the log away from the stops. Matter of fact, it skewed anything I clamped with it away from the stops because I have no more stops that way. So everything that you would clamp with this is always going to skew away from the stops if this is on the other side. So I put it back over here. I do think that I'm going to move this clamp over 1 hole set so that it's, well, it's kind of okay right here. It's kind of in the middle. I think it would be better if it was over 1 more hole set. And now it will clamp straight on, and I'll be able to hold really small logs between these 2 bunks, which this better illustrates why it's a problem than down there.